All right, Dave, give me two of your favorite sleepers.
I should steal Heath's sleepers right now, shouldn't I? I'm not going to do that. The first one that I'm really gravitating toward, and I've done a lot of research on, is Isaiah Mckenzie. And I don't think a lot of people have talked about Mckenzie. Buffalo Bills, it looks like he's their slot receiver this year. He's been practicing with the ones, didn't play in their first preseason game, like the starters didn't play in their first preseason game. And there's been tons of buzz about him out of Buffalo. I just listened to an interview that Josh Allen had today, or not, it wasn't today. I listened to it today. It's like a week old interview, but Allen was raving about Mckenzie, how he's gotten better, how he's got speed. And I think the best way to think about him is he's Cole Beasley, but with speed. We saw a little bit of it last year. There was a game last season where Beasley was out. Mckenzie replaced him. He had 12 targets. He had 11 catches. He had 125 yards receiving, and he had a touchdown. I don't think he's going to do that every week. Big shock. But I think he's going to be involved in this offense. And I did some digging. A quarter of all of Josh Allen's targets went to whichever receiver was in the slot last year. I think that's a decent dose. We also know that Beasley had at least 80 catches each of the past 2 years. I think it was 82 on the dot each of the last 2 years. And this is an offense that's going to throw the ball. And Mckenzie should be way more explosive than Cole Beasley was. Beasley didn't even average 10 yards a catch last year. Here's the best part. Mckenzie is going to be a very late pick in every draft. There's going to be a lot of people in fantasy that just do not know who he is, where he came from. I think that he's got all kinds of upside to finish as I want to say a low end number 2 fantasy receiver. There could be 3 receivers in Buffalo that could finish top 24. I think that offense is strong enough. I think Allen is strong enough, and the price you can't beat. He's someone that I think can help fantasy managers in full PPR this year as soon as week 1 against the Rams.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you'll give me one more in a second, and I think if it's the running back, then that'll be kind of the most high-end guy on your list. But I think if you look at
I'm going to go in a different direction.
All right. If you look at Dave's list of sleepers and Heath's list of sleepers, I would say that Dave's are deeper. So if you're in a 10-team league, I don't know if you're drafting Isaiah Mckenzie. I mean, he's definitely a good name to know. But I would say Dave's are deeper, which is great. We need both varieties here. Give me one more sleeper, Dave.
The other sleeper is a name that you've heard of before, David Njoku. And there might be people that turn off this podcast just because I said his name, because for years he's been somebody that fantasy managers have said, okay, he's got talent, he's got a chance, let's see what he can do. But he's been in a crowded tight end room and in a crowded offense with some shaky quarterback play. And that's not going to change. There's going to be shaky quarterback play, but that receiving core in Cleveland has really been drained. It's Amari Cooper and not a whole heck of a lot else. And they just paid Njoku a ton. I've started to do research on him as well. I've talked to some friends in Cleveland. It looks like David Njoku's got a chance to be the second most target getter in Cleveland, which, I mean, that's what you're looking for from a tight end, is to be first or second in targets on his team. Cleveland's offense isn't the one you necessarily want to go with. But here's the kicker. You can draft Njoku late, and you can start him week 1. He plays against Carolina. I think that's an okay matchup. Week 2 against the Jets, I think that's a good matchup. So 2 good matchups to start the year for the Browns. The quarterback issue is problematic, but it's Brissett. We know that Brissett isn't a big chance taker. He doesn't throw downfield. He might check it down a lot. Njoku could end up being a 5 catch per game tight end in an offense that just doesn't have a lot of weapons to it. And just like Mckenzie, late round pick, not on the radar of a lot of the people that you play with in your fantasy league.
I don't know, man. I would love him. I mean, I would call him breakout if Watson were the quarterback, because I think there's a great chance for him to be number 2 on the team in targets. But Jacoby Brissett is just one of the worst quarterbacks for fantasy purposes. And the Browns are going to run the ball an absolute ton. You have low pass volume and bad passer. I just don't know how David Njoku gives you anything consistently. I just don't want to draft him.
Can I give you one other note that I think you might like?
Mm-hmm.
Think back to last year. When did Mike Gesicki become a thing in Miami?
Was he? Oh, he had that midseason stretch.
It actually started before the midseason.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay,
I mean, you know where I'm going with it.
Yeah. So the Las Vegas game. Yeah, I guess a lot of Brissett there, but no, I mean, not really.
It kicked off with Brissett. It kicked off with Brissett. Brissett had 3 games, weeks 3 through 5.
Yeah.
Gesicki averaged 14 PPR points per game with 2 games over 15 PPR points. And Gesicki and Njoku, I would say, are very similar in terms of skill set. I think Njoku could be better than Gesicki, to be honest with you. I think part of the problem with Njoku is that he never really got the opportunity to be the guy. Because right when it looked like he was going to get that opportunity, the Browns brought in Austin Hooper, and they kind of pushed David Njoku to the side. Okay. And now Hooper's gone. Harrison Bryant is another tight end they have. I like the talent coming out of FAU. I just don't know if he's going to be able to ascend. I think Njoku is going to get a shot this year. It's a low risk, high reward deal at the tight end position. He could end up being fairly useful. And I think about all the other tight ends that I've tried to put into this spot as a late round guy. Gerald Everett looks like he's got some competition at his own position in Chargers camp. Noah Fant was playing with, he played the whole first half for the Seahawks while DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett sat out. I wonder what that means. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. Gesicki, I'm very uninterested in. Kyle Rudolph is touchdown or bust. We could talk about other tight ends, but I think Njoku's got a profile that gives him a shot to be decent. The only other one that I think fantasy managers will take first is Albert O in Denver. But what are the odds that he's going to end up being first or second on his team in targets?
Well, you have him listed as a sleeper too. So who would you rather have, Njoku or Albert O?
I have Njoku ranked ahead of Albert O.